Hi, I'm Katrina, and this is Boldly Challenging Ableism. I'm your host, Katrina Simons. I'm the Community Program Specialist at the Institute on Community Integration at the University of Minnesota. This program explores various topics that impact people with disabilities in our community. Each episode addresses a different aspect of our society within the context of ableism. Ableism is the prejudice that stems from the belief or belief system that assumes someone is less capable or less worthy because of a real or perceived difference in ability or function. On this program, we hope to answer some questions you may have been afraid to ask, or maybe some you didn't even know you had. Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoy the conversation. Hi, everybody. For this episode, we talked to Nikki Villavicencio. She is the Disability Culture and Leadership Specialist for Advocating Change Together in Minnesota. I asked our friend Nick Wilke to join me as co-host. Nick is the Independent Living Coordinator for the Metropolitan Center for Independent Living. I hope you enjoy the conversation.
So, Nikki, thank you so much for joining us. It's so nice to have you here.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Katrina.
Nikki, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hey, everybody. I'm Nikki Villavicencio. I like to use she, her, sha pronouns, and I'm a disability rights and justice advocate. I currently work for Advocating Change Together as our Disability Culture and Leadership Specialist. And when I'm not busy doing that, I chair the Council on Disability. And when I'm not busy doing that, I am the Maplewood City Council member.
And you are here to talk about parenting with a disability today.
Yes. As I was saying that I'm a mom, and I'm a person with a disability. My disability that I was born with is called arthrogryposis. And it's a joint condition where most of my joints in my body are fixed. And I happen to be someone who uses my feet mostly for everything, writing, eating, and I drive my wheelchair around the community. And as I was saying before, when I'm at home, I like to be out of my wheelchair on the floor, on my butt.
One of the first questions that I think really comes into play when you think about parenting is you've been on this journey with Allie for 12 years, right? What stands out for you, Nikki, like in that span of like different assumptions that the public made about parenting?
Yeah, that's a great question, but it's a huge question.
It
right?
is.
I feel like when Allie was first born and she was a baby, I feel it was far more dramatic than it is now, in the sense that when we would first go to grocery stores and places like that, people would literally kind of follow us around and ask us strange questions. It happened on the city bus and Metro Mobility many, many times. And, it would just be questions that people would have assumptions about, like, how did you get that child? Is that your child? Did you adopt that child? And sometimes people even ask very personal questions, right? As you can probably guess. And then I think as she has aged, part of what helped is we've lived in the same area for her whole life. Which helps, I think, because people get to know us. They see us on the street. They see us on the sidewalk. They see us all the time in the grocery stores and at events and things like that, to the point where now I get interesting comments like, well, how many kids do you have now? What do you do with them all? And how do you, or interesting comments like, well, I feel sorry for your child because they must not be able to get out much, and which any of you who know me and my family know that that's the opposite of what we are. We get out way too much, probably, and
you're very social.
Yes, we're very outgoing family, and we really thrive in that. That's really what's kept our family going. I think the biggest lesson that I've learned throughout being a mom is like, being a person with a disability, and being born with our disability, and I know you, Nick, and Katrina are both born with your disability, so you could relate to this in the sense that when you're born with your disabilities, you learn to adapt through life, right? And being a parent, it just like exponentially grows that factor, right? Like learning how to adapt can be at an hourly level, right? So I guess that skill just gets really built up.
We know, or I know, and I'm pretty sure Nick knows, that Allie knows you have a disability. Did you have to like have an official conversation with her, or did it not work out like that?
So obviously a lot of you who know me know that I hang out with a lot of folks with disabilities and organize with people with disabilities too. So Allie grew up not just around myself being a person with a disability, but her dad being a person with a disability. And then a lot of our friends having disabilities. And so when she was about 3 years old, she literally looked at Daryl and I and said, "When do I get my wheelchair?" And we were like, "Well, actually, you probably won't get a wheelchair because you can walk." And she's like, "Oh, yeah, yeah." And then she goes, "But I want one. I would like one. I like wheelchairs." And we were like, "Well, you get to ride on mom and dad's until you're too big." But now she's 12 and she still tries to ride on my wheelchair. And we've gotten her rollerblades, skateboards, scooters, bicycles, everything you can name that she could ride herself, but she still tries to ride on my chair and Daryl's chair.
I mean, I'm totally biased, but your chair and probably Daryl's chair totally would beat rollerblades and a skateboard. Just saying. Just saying. There's no comparison. 6.5 miles an hour versus like half a mile an hour.
Yeah, but on her bike, she can get faster than us.
That's true, but it's more work.
Yeah.
Katrina, I love the question that you asked of like, did Allie come out and ask directly about disability? And when she did that, Nikki, was it a question to both you and Daryl, or did you have to address it first and then Daryl chimed in later, or was it like that good family dynamic?
Yeah, I remember the exact day we were at the park on Lake Phelan, and she kind of just said it to both of us, and we were like, we both kind of had the same reaction, like, well.
Based on that, do you think dialogue about disability always has come naturally for Allie?
I feel like Allie is in a unique situation, probably different than most even kids who have parents with disabilities, in the sense that I work in disability. So like she's around the conversations about disability a lot. I mean, I had no child care throughout her life thus so far, like child care assistance from the county or anything like that. And so she went everywhere with us. And that meant she went to meetings with DHS. She went to the Capitol. She went to the Olmsted Academy. Like, that's just what we did. And so she has grown up around a lot of the language. And so she has a good sense of being able to talk about it more than probably many adults, especially able-bodied adults. But yeah, I mean, at like fourth grade, she was talking about what ableism is at grade school.
Well, maybe she could give us some pointers.
Yeah, it was an interesting conversation because I got a call from the school saying, yeah, we had a situation with Allie and another girl where the girl thought she was calling her a name, but she said she was being ableist. And we weren't really sure how to talk about that. So then we had a conversation about ableism at her grade school, which was really great.
And was that an opportunity for you and Daryl to come in and have the conversation too?
Yeah.
That's-
I mean,
that's
luckily
really cool.
her grade school was a pretty small grade school. It was about 200 kids, and the principal, all the staff in that school were always very open to us, like even like surprisingly so. Like they were just very open and inviting, and always wanting us to come to like the events and like the all the activities, and always gave us extra time for parent teacher conferences and things like that. We were very lucky. Now she's in middle school. She'll be going into her second year of middle school this fall. And I will tell you, middle school has not been the same experience, but it's much to be expected.
But does she also, because like middle school, a lot of kids don't want their parents to be in their school all the time. So is part of that her developmental stage?
I don't think so. I think she would want us to be there more. I just mean the structure is so much different. Like her middle school that she goes to now is like 1,000 kids, and like it's like from room to room to room, and she has to carry all her stuff. It's just like a whole new ball game, and it's been an interesting adjustment. I would say, like education wise, for parenting, it's been probably the most challenging for us.
So I'm just trying to clarify, is the attitude of the school staff also challenging, or just the new structure?
I would say both.
Both are challenging. Okay.
Yeah, because it's a whole new set of different staff, and because the school is far bigger, they just have like a lot more structure of when you come in and come visit. And, we're just still trying to develop those relationships with the administration too in that school.
And then along those lines, Nikki, just from my own experience at Junior High, I think like I was only there for 2 years. Is that the situation for Allie as well?
So her middle school is 6th, 7th, 8th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't mean to interject or take time away from the importance, but they changed it since we were in St. Paul Public, so where it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
See, and I think if under the new circumstances, I would be more excited about middle school if I was going to be going to middle school at that time, only because that gives you one more year to kind of put your roots down.
Yeah.
So maybe you can establish some of those relationships.
Right.
Like it's not just 2 years and done, right?
Right. Yeah. It's, how it is. For any child, it's a huge adjustment, right? That's just an age where everything is adjusting socially, physically, emotionally, everything. But what I will say is that I would say that like in this stage of her development, it has been interesting to see, and I think it's more obvious now to seeing that because she's been raised by 2 people with disabilities, her neurodiversity has shown up more, meaning like in just like in situations, her perception of life is a lot different than the people around her, and it's become more obvious now that she's getting older, which is interesting. It's a blessing, really, actually. So when I think of neurodiversity, I think of like autism and ADHD, but it sounds like you might be using the term differently. Can we explore that a little bit? Sure. I guess I meant it in more of a general term of not diagnoses of autism or autism spectrum, but like just the fact that the way she thinks is different than her able-bodied counterparts or her other able-bodied counterparts, because she does have some learning disabilities. So she does have an IEP, and so we are experiencing what it's like to go through an IEP system nowadays, and it is a lot different than when I went through it, and a lot more complicated. With
that, I'm going to call it sensitivity and awareness on Allie's part because of all of her experiences that have led her to this place where she is right now. Because she's seen a lot of it, not only from you and Daryl, but also in the other facets of your life. She's that much more aware and can even, I would say, speak to it, even if she hasn't done it formally yet. Would you agree, Nikki?
Yeah, definitely.
Can you tell us about like something that you do differently because you are parenting with a disability versus parenting without one? So one of the examples that I'm thinking of is when you were cooking the pork chops.
Oh, yeah. So, like, cooking. Yeah, we now, so when I did that, that was just in the baby stages of me wanting to have an accessible kitchen. And now we have an accessible kitchen in our apartment, which is really awesome, where most of my things are lower. And so it was an adjustment to try to cook with a toddler being right at your level.
I know, it was amazing. I only saw it the one time, but it stuck with me.
Yeah, I often, explain to people that, like, I do everything on the floor when I'm at home, and I use my wheelchair to get around the world, but I prefer to be on the floor. And for most of my parenting, I feel like that's been a huge, like, asset. Like, little kids love it when you're, like, face-to-face with them, right? Like, that's the best way to parent them is, like, when you're just right on their level. And so for me, I feel like that's a big reason why Allie and I have such a good relationship. But I will tell you, it's been challenging in terms of, like, okay, this is for me. Don't touch this because I can, because we're at the same level, we can reach the same things. But I would say that she's like a typical kid, that she pushes the buttons, but we've never had any fires, no major disasters, no cut off fingers or toes. So I think we're doing good so far.
I think you're doing great.
Oh, I think you're hitting it out of the park.
Yeah. And we talked about that before you got here. I was like, I'm so happy we found Nikki because she's such a good parent, and it'll just be so fun to talk about it.
One of the other things that I think is really important too is that you've been a pro at parenting for these 12 years, but as we've mentioned before, that like it's really a process of learn by doing, I'm sure.
Definitely. Yeah. What's that? I can't think of the saying, but something by fire.
Trial by fire.
Yep.
Trial by fire is definitely, I think, but like I was saying before, it's about adapting and, like, okay, this doesn't work, hurry up and try to think of something else that's going to work. I feel like that's a huge part of parenting. I appreciate you both saying that you think I'm a good parent, because I think any parent will tell you they don't feel like good parents.
That has nothing to do with disability.
Right.
But I think we've also established too that, like, the ability to, like, stop, start, change is probably more ingrained because of figuring out, being in a world where you got to use your disability head just to try to navigate down the street.
Definitely. I think, like, a lot of people, a lot of times what stops people from doing things is that they're not used to having to break down those barriers, right? And so being a parent, I had to learn to be comfortable with doing things I don't see other people doing. And I think that was really challenging. Like I said, I had to bring Allie to the Capitol a lot of times. And a lot of times I would feel certain ways about that. And one of my friends actually said to me, but what if it was comfortable for people to bring their families to the Capitol? Wouldn't that make the Capitol probably a better place?
Yep.
I would say yeah.
It's not a hard answer. Yep.
Yeah. And when they said that, it made me feel a lot better, because it was like, here I was in a environment that it doesn't usually have children unless it's like a special occasion or something. But we're talking about really human and child and children and family issues. So it was quite ironic a lot of times.
I remember when you were pregnant with Allie, because that's how long we've known each other. And I remember people had the strangest questions about how you would bring her into the world, how you would parent her after she is brought into the world, how you would navigate barriers that might not even happen. And I'm just wondering, it sounds like some of that has persisted as Allie has gotten older, and some of it has probably gone away. You probably don't get very many questions about pregnancy anymore, but maybe you do. I don't know. But I'm wondering if it ever sort of bothered you that people had that many questions about how you would manage pregnancy, birth, and parenting.
I would say I have moments where it bothers me, but I don't think it like overall bothers me. I think what was challenging was when I'd be out in the community and people would ask questions like, how are you going to do this and how are you going to do that, instead of saying, hey, do you need help with anything?
Right. Yeah.
That was always kind of like, okay, you see me struggling here, but you're more interested in knowing how I do everything than actually me being a regular person and needing a little bit of assistance here.
Yeah. And did it wear on you that people had so many questions, or were you kind of like, well, I'm used to people asking me questions because my disability is visible? I'm sorry, for those of you that are don't know Nikki. Nikki's disability is a visible disability, which is something that Nick and I also have. But I'm wondering if, because people pass those judgments on you really before you even had kids, was that difficult?
Yeah, it was definitely difficult. I think in the first few years, I would say like from pregnancy to about 4 to 5 were probably the most challenging years. Not only just because she's a baby and all the developmental things, but just like what you're saying, that just constant kind of interference in your life. But I would also say that I don't think it affected my parenting in that sense, because of the fact of being a person with a visible disability. I was able to, I obviously have experience with that. Anytime you two know, because if you go to the state fair, right, you always get somebody asking some interesting questions, or malls, or anywhere there's large groups of people. So I had some already like built up, advocacy around that. But, you just, as a parent, I feel you're very like sensitive about like, and as a first time parent, you're like sensitive about a lot of things. But then like that adapting at like 5, 6, 7, I feel like that adaptive quality kind of kicked in.
You're talking about adaptability.
Yeah, just the adaptability of having a kid, and also her being able to communicate. She herself is a very good communicator, and so as she grew, I think when people would start asking questions, she would just be like, "Oh, I do it like this," or "Yeah, my mom," you know what I mean? I think that helped a lot, especially like other kids at school would ask her questions, and she would have to answer them. And a lot of times she would tell me about it, but she never seemed fazed by it. That was the interesting thing. She would always be like ready for an answer. And that always surprises me.
It doesn't surprise me one bit.
I mean,
I love that.
Like, just seeing her personality like come out at a very early age, Nikki, like, I'm with Katrina. I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all that she would be able to like just bounce and be like very matter of fact about. And I think that's a testament to everything that you've talked about thus far, just like her awareness of the situation that she's been a part of, and that has basically been, like everybody else, a significant part of her life. Not every part of her life, but significant enough that she's very comfortable. Even in spaces where, the average person might still be uncomfortable, but to your point, they're going to ask you the weird questions first rather than say, could I help you out?
You're right.
And I think that's a testament to, like, if people would offer to help, I will keep them straight,
Right.
I will tell them yes or no.
Yeah.
But so often than not, like, they're afraid to make an approach.
Or I don't really get it, and I feel like this happened to you a lot, Nikki. And I don't know if it was just because you have, or just because people were not expecting you to be able to get pregnant and parent, frankly, or if it's just something that happens to everybody. I do not appreciate it when people think passing a judgment openly is like a helpful thing. And I feel like you, for many reasons, and none of them are fair, have encountered a lot of that. And I wish that wasn't true, but also I kind of watch you in awe as you navigate it, because it's not, like, easy.
Yeah, I feel like it kind of goes by what we were saying before when you have to get comfortable with doing things that you're not used to seeing anybody else do. And like you said, people will make judgments on that. But I always tell people, like, I am an open person. So, like, if you want to ask me things, like, that's cool. Like, I've always kind of had that attitude because I'd rather people know the truth than, like, guess. And then, like, I feel like we're kind of in this strange point in our society where, like, everybody Googles everything, right? Which is a good thing. Like, I love Googling things. I Google stuff all day long. And I do appreciate people who do try to put, like, some research in themselves and, like, look things up. But then also that can be scary too, because, like, you don't know what sources they're looking at. And, like, even if you tell them, like, what your disability is, they may look at, like, 5 other different strands of the disability that you may or may not have. And so I would just rather be like, hey, let's talk about this. Yes, people have assumptions, but yeah, I guess that's the only way we move forward, right? Is, like, busting through those. And if any of you know, I know you two know my partner, but he loves busting through those type of barriers. That's like,
and he has, okay, Nikki's partner's name is Daryl. And is that okay that I said that, Nikki?
yes.
But he has a very large power chair, so I'm picturing him, barreling through, because he could do it. He could barrel through a wall if he really wanted to.
Yeah. And probably has at some place.
It's a cool mental image that you guys can't share with me. Okay.
I can see what you're talking about,
Right.
Katrina. Yeah. And he would do it with amazing style, a flashy shirt, and probably a pretty awesome hat.
Yeah.
Too.
The hat. Yeah, the hat. I'd be a big fan of the hat.
Big fan of the hat.
Yeah. I had this vision of when I was pregnant, like, not having to have everybody carry my baby around.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted the ability to carry her around myself, like go on a little walk together.
Yeah.
And things like that. And so I went to Gillette and I was like, hey, can you try to attach a car seat to my wheelchair? And they're like, we could figure it out. And I was like, really? Wow. And then so we bought a car seat. They adapted it. It hooked into the front of my wheelchair, kind of like a trailer hitch.
Yeah, but in the front.
In the front. And so I was able to feed her and give her a bottle and talk to her. And
Well,
do all.
also, she was like perfectly, like the distance between your face and her eyes was like perfect. So she could like gaze up at you, which is
Yeah.
amazing.
Like a baby buggy.
Yeah.
It was
And
like a personal baby buggy.
After that, did you have like the platform on the back for her to stand on when she got older?
No, but she just rides on the back anyways.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I forget who had the platform on the back, but that was cool too. But it was somebody.
I've seen people online have those, but was it John Vita?
No, maybe no, because I think he had the Storm Arrow when his kids were small enough to ride on the back, and you do not need a platform on the back of that baby. That is a big, solid chair that will get you to where you need to go.
Right, that's what I was probably thinking. Because I remember seeing his kids on the back.
Yeah, but somebody did. All right, I will not look it up. I was gonna say I'll look it up, but I'm not gonna do that.
But yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, I'm still very thankful that I even had that, because I don't know if you all know, but I had to get that certified through the DOT to be able to ride it on the bus too.
Oh my!
Oh yeah, because it was like an added thing.
Yeah, I mean, because it was never ever been before, and like bus drivers on Metro would be like, "What the hell's this?" Excuse my language, but no. And so I had a little bit of action right on Metro Mobility one day where the driver made the mistake of putting the ramp down right away. So I backed my chair on the lift with the car seat attached, said, "Well, I'm not getting off the ramp now until you bring a supervisor down here," because he was like, "Well, you got to take the car seat off the wheelchair and put it on the seat." I said, "No, I can't. It's not made to sit on the seat. It only is made to sit here."
Right.
And so literally we had to wait there until the supervisor came down, and then approved it for that ride, and then we further certified it through the DOT.
And then like the certification process, can you talk to us a little bit about like how long that is and what it entails? And
it really didn't entail much, because I kind of forced it upon the system by standing on the lift. So they had temporarily approved it. So, but the fact that they temporarily approved it kind of made it pretty easy to get it officially certified. And I mean, luckily, many people here probably know Andy Stresik from Metro Mobility, but he's a very good advocate for people with disabilities too, and he's always helped me in my advocacy with Metro Mobility. So
okay, I'm just gonna tell people what Metro Mobility is, just in case. Is that all right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so Metro Mobility is I would say the most common paratransit service that we have here in the Twin Cities right now. And paratransit means that it is designed to take people with disabilities everywhere that people without disabilities can go on public transit.
Yeah.
In a few words. I drastically oversimplified it, but that is the base concept.
No, I thought that was perfect.
Okay.
And just to be clear, I take Metro, I take the city bus, I take the light rail, I take Metro Mobility, and then we also use private transportation if needed. But, I also brought the car seat on the city bus too, which was fun.
Yeah, okay. Now, did you have to, because our city bus, it was better back then, I feel like. I feel like it took a hard downturn after the pandemic. I feel like it hasn't quite bounced back. Did you have to worry about, like, people dropping things in the carrier that had your baby in it?
Oh, that...
Like, nobody thought it was, like, some type of trash vessel, right?
Right.
Okay, excellent.
No, nobody would ever drop anything of it. I mean, I know what you're talking about, because I've had people do that, like, you know, when you have a bag on the back of your wheelchair, they'll just, like, shove garbage in your bag.
Right. And you're like, that's not that's my groceries.
Right. Anyways, but no, I never worried about that with, my daughter, with the car seat or anything. Yeah. I was just always challenging to get on. I'd have to, like, back in. Yeah. Because it was, there's not a lot of room to turn
Right.
for anybody who's been on there.
Right. I remember when I like first learned how, they had to set up a practice obstacle course for me in the garage, and I had to like practice steering. It was a thing.
Well, and were you using a scooter then?
Yeah, and I was not very good at it, but then when I got on the bus, I was like, I am far from the worst.
Right.
This could go so much worse, and I did okay.
When I think about you guys, I think just about the exposure to like believing that you can do something.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, Nikki, you're talking about trailblazing and like putting yourself in situations where, you're advocating for the change, and you've built in the expectation of yourself that says that you are going to do this. And you will do this. And I think that's one of the other barriers, if you will, that we're still trying to get around and push through, is that expectation that you will. And I think but it also speaks to people's desire to make choices that they can't.
Right.
Like they're expected to do those things. Like, if you want to, you can be a parent with a disability. If you want to, you can drive whatever you want to drive.
Mm-hmm.
Just as long as you desire to do it. And people been given the choice to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like Nikki has ironclad tenacity.
Yes.
That is like rare in the human race. Like it's exemplary. But
I appreciate that, but that's the part that bothers me, I think, the most, is that it shouldn't be that hard, right? Like that's the part that frustrates me the most about being an advocate is like, we're in 2024 and it literally should not be this hard. Like, for people to just live their life like anybody else,
right. And choose to parent.
Yeah, or do anything, right? Like it is. I am around people with disabilities all the time that like they have the most simplest choices taken away from them only because they're disabled.
Right. No other reason.
Yeah,
and it's hard to see. So, I mean, it makes me want to push harder, but
And I mean, honestly, that's the other thing that got me really excited about doing episodes like this is like these discussions, this dialogue needs to be out there in front of people.
Yeah.
For the same aspect that people are going to come up and they're going to ask questions, but when they ask the questions, it doesn't give us the opportunity to frame it in the way that we would desire all the time because of the questions that they asked, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean.
We want to thank you so much for coming, Nikki.
Well, thank you both so much, too. It's always good to see both of you. I've known you for a long time, and I hope maybe one of you may become a parent someday, hey?
Hey, I hope it's Nick. Because I don't think it's going to be me.
I love this moment.
And thanks, everybody, for listening and bearing with us. We hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
Take care, everybody.
Boldly Challenging Ableism is a co-production of AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and the Institute on Community Integration at the University of Minnesota. For more information, please visit ici.umn.edu.